Welcome back to Darren Models. So in this video I'm going to be talking about working with resin, best practices and so forth. So the first thing I'm going to say is the material is toxic, so you don't want to be breathing it in. So all the time you're working with it you need to have a dust mask similar to this, so as to not be breathing it in. So unlike a styrene kit, the finish on it isn't quite as smooth. You possibly get some defects. Things like this need cleaning up, and that's just the nature of the manufacturing of it, the way that it's produced. So pretty much any resin piece that you're going to get, whether it's full kit, whether it's small part, you're going to have something that's going to need some cleanup. So the first thing I've done is I've washed it all with soapy water and rinsed it off. Still a few little bits of water left on it because it's not fully dry, yeah, a lot of 3D, a lot of resin is still moulded in the traditional way, and there's release agents on it and such that need cleaning off. The modern stuff, certainly some of the smaller stuff, will be 3D printed, so you wouldn't necessarily have the same problem, but it's good practice to be in if you're not sure on how it's made. It does no harm to clean it. So I'll take those bits out for now and put them up there. As I mentioned in the unboxing video, this piece got a slight warp to it. It wasn't very bad at all, but there was a little bit. And what I've done is I've just put it in some boiling water and put a weight on it so it's flat, just to flatten it down. So that's all flat now. So that's what I did with that piece. So that's the thing with resin. With it, if you get a piece like that, you can reshape it with, like I said, with boiling water. So that's not a problem. It's not broke it or anything. So the first thing I'm going to do is start sanding the body and cleaning it up. So things like the window there, where you've got this fairly large piece, just use a sharp knife and just cut around it like that. So one thing that you need to be careful of, certainly on smaller parts, this is quite thick so it wouldn't have the same problem, is that it can be brittle. So on some of the finer details I showed in the unboxing video, there is a risk that stuff will get broken if you're not careful, so you do need to handle it with care. It's certainly more brittle than styrene plastic you get in a traditional kit, so you can't manhandle it in the same way. If you try and bend it, the chances are it will break. Putting it in boiling water, as I did with the base plate, will allow some manipulation, but you just need to be careful with that. So yeah, another thing is I've cleaned my bench and I made sure it's perfectly clean and there's nothing around it to get any dust into, because the last thing I want to do is get dust contamination into other areas that I don't want. So what I've got off camera is a tub of water which I put some wet and dry paper in, which is here. So using it wet will reduce the amount of dust that gets raised. So I'm just going to start sanding it a little bit, and I'm going to put my dust mask on, so I'm going to go quiet while I do this bit. What we want to do is get rid of any imperfections and give it a key for the paint. So I can feel a difference between the bonnet surface there that I've just sanded and the roof that I've not sanded. Another thing that you need to do, as I showed you with the windows going round, just check carefully for areas like in here, where you can see there's a little bit that's under there. So again, just as a bit of care, just to clean that up. Or you can get a sort of thin sander and just carefully go in like that with it. So I'm not going to do too much of that because I haven't got my dust mask on at the moment. So I'm going to go around and do all of the parts and prep them all off camera. I just want to give you an idea as to sort of things that you need to take into account with it. So that's where I'm at with that bit. And then you've got other bits like these, where you've got raised areas. Again, get a coarse sander and just sand those flat. Again, I'm not going to do them without my dust mask on, and there's things like that that all need sanding down. So I'm going to go off, get all of those done, and one other thing I'm going to mention is primer. So you might get away with your standard primer that you use for doing this, but you might not. Typically styrene plastic primers won't adhere the same to this as they would to your plastic. So you might find that it works, you get coverage, you put your paint on and everything's okay. You might find that when you come to do things like masking off for your window trim and things like that, that when you lift the masking tape off, that the primer comes straight away from the resin because the primer's not actually bitten into it properly. So there's a couple of options that you can use. If I go and find them, the first one is a etch primer, 1K primer like this one. That says it's for metal, but it will work on the resin as well. And Steve's also got this one, which is just a normal 2-pack grey primer, which will work on resin. I believe that he still does, or at least he used to do, a 2K primer as well, which is also good for this sort of thing. So any of those will work fine, but as I said, if you was to use the normal plastic primer, there's a risk involved that it's not gonna bite the same. So just take that into account. If you're not sure if that's all you've got, it's worth trying it on a little bit and seeing how it behaves, and seeing if you've got a method that allows you to work with it. Or if you do that, just be very careful when you actually come to masking off if you need to. So yeah, short video on this one, but I just wanted to cover those basics, and just go through those details with you, because as I said, it is toxic. It is important to know about the material and how it's made, to make sure that you've got cleaned up properly and you're protecting your health. At the end of the day, it's a hobby. You don't want to cause yourself any health issues by not taking sufficient precautions. So yeah, there you go. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video.